Kevin Durant, we've realized once again, one of the most lethal scorers in the history of this game.
Listen, we're talking about a two-time champ, a two-time finals MVP. The prolific scoring, 4 times atop the points per game leadership.
This dude is arguably the best player on the planet.
A bad, bad man.
Durant, catch and shoot. Up ahead, Durant takes it to the rim for the flush. 3 on the shot clock, crossing deep in the bag. Durant scores again.
His 15th year in the NBA, and he's still only 33.
Durant's got 11. Frank goes down. Durant is going to highlight. We're watching one of the top players to ever suit up. Oh, what a look from Durant. Gorgeous find from Kevin Durant. Durant, catch fire, and hit.
But this guy has bounced back to be the best scorer in the world again. It's phenomenal.
Oh, slam down on a follow. KD, attack mode. Puts it on the deck. Rack attack. Kevin Durant.
He's putting together one of the most efficient shooting seasons I have ever seen.
Can he get 50? Yes, he can! 51 for Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant, one of, if not the best scorer to ever grace an NBA floor.
A 4th of July weekend, and we remain on KD watch. Sound familiar, huh? Happy 4th of July to all of you out there. Thanks for being with us in the latest and greatest edition of Free Agent Fever with 3D Dennis Scott. I'm Jared Greenberg. Over the next 30 minutes, we've got Summer League highlights from the California Classic. Plus, we'll check in on the W. But all eyes in the basketball world still focused on the Nets. Kyrie and KD, at the time that we were producing this show, still members of the Nets, but we are still curious as to what their future will look like. Got to imagine every basketball team in America. You've seen some of those college teams saying they want to trade for KD. Yeah, well, that does not go past the champs as well, according to Mark Spears from ESPN. Mark saying that, listen, it's no surprise that the Warriors have interest in Kevin Durant. Remember, he won a couple of chips with them. So does more than half the league. It's Kevin Durant. You better make the call if you're an NBA GM. It's Kevin Durant. And Spears saying, listen, every team has to do their due diligence. This is not breaking news. It's not as if the Warriors are on the doorstep of reclaiming Kevin Durant. But the question right now is, where do we stand? And we see the topic bar here. The Suns, the Heat, the Warriors, the Raptors, and every other team under the sun wants Kevin Durant for obvious reasons.
Yeah, I think Warriors fans may have said, well, what are we talking about? It makes the most sense out of all the teams. Y'all had him last. Y'all won championships with him. He got MVPs with you guys. So why not do your due diligence, look at it? Will it probably happen? Probably not. But one thing about Bob Myers and Steve Kerr, they're going to do their due diligence. They're going to look. They're going to see what they have to give up. Yes, they have a lot of assets. Yes, they got a lot of young guys. So then on the flip side of you say, does it fit? Well, why doesn't it fit? Right? Like the personnel's there. You're going to win right away. It's not rebuilding. You know who Steph Curry is. You know who Klay Thompson is. He's going to be better again being another year removed from his injuries.
And let's not forget, too, as Ryan McDonough, former Suns GM and our front office
Great job,
analyst here who's been on with us the last several days, pointed out on day one of this whole saga, you look at the young core of players the Warriors have to offer the Nets that would be enticing, from the unknown of James Wiseman to Jonathan Kuminga to potentially Jordan Poole to Moses Moody.
Yep.
All those guys, right? It kind of makes sense. You know, it's interesting, though. We've seen DeJounte Murray go for 3 first-round draft picks in a trade. Now Rudy Gobert for 4 unprotected first-round draft picks. Can you imagine what the haul will be that Sean Marks and the Nets are asking for?
It's real simple if I'm the Warriors. Draymond, give KD a call.
Right.
It's real simple. Hey, KD, we know what happened. We've had the podcast. We've ironed it out. We've talked about it. You want to rekindle? You want to go ahead and win 2 more championships? You want a chance to get some more MVPs? Steph got his MVP now because the naysayers Steph had to get his MVP. He's got it now. But if you're talking about winning 4 of the next 5, all the stuff that's going on social media, he gives you a great chance of doing that.
Yeah. Now, listen, let's forget about the Warriors for a second. Everybody acts as if Sean Marks and the Nets need to get this done yesterday.
No, take your time.
Now, maybe it does get done in the next few minutes or the next few hours.
Sean Marks, take your time. Take your time. Take as long as you need because he's that type of player. I'd be sitting there talking to my owner and saying, you know what? maybe we shouldn't trade him. We've invested in him. We believe in him. Let's sit down and go to dinner, have a glass of wine, and can we figure this thing out? You and Kyrie don't like each other as basketball players anymore, but y'all still boys off the court. So be it. Give us a chance to figure out maybe we can use Kyrie and get enough pieces to keep you happy and stay.
And with the 4-year contract that kicks in now for Kevin Durant and the fact that he always says he's a hooper,
right?
Would Kevin Durant really pull a Ben Simmons and sit out?
No.
Okay, so
I will go on record. I know one thing about KD. He might be, in social media and a little bit of sense that people like to say, but he's not going to fake hooping.
All right, we don't know what's going on with KD. We don't know what's going on with Kyrie, but you saw the Chris Haynes report that came out on Saturday night that indicated that talks are progressing between the Nets and Lakers for a potential swap that would include Russell Westbrook for Kyrie Irving. Now, listen, those two can't go straight up for one another. Here's what the aforementioned Ryan McDonough put out on Twitter earlier on Sunday, saying that, listen, he thinks that this could get it done, that the Lakers would get both Kyrie and Joe Harris, who's recouping from serious injury.
Right.
The Nets would get Russell Westbrook, Kendrick Nunn, and draft compensation. Remember, the Lakers don't have any draft compensation to give until 2027.
Right.
So let me ask you that. Just on that deal right there, is that a deal the Nets say yes to?
If all the picks are in place, because we know they don't have any picks because of the James Harden trade, that's why it would make sense. And then if you make that trade, does Russell Westbrook stay? There's room that he maybe get bought out, goes back to OKC.
Right.
So there's a lot of conversations there. But then again, are you getting enough back to put around KD to say, KD, I'm going to say this again. I know you've been unhappy. I know this past year didn't go the way you wanted to. I'm not getting rid of you. I'm keeping you. Let me get some pieces, some picks. No, I need some players.
Right.
You're 33 years old. So let me try to get some more quality players around you. If that doesn't work, then I'll trade you. I'm taking my time. I'm not going, it's not a quick sale. This is not a quick stock.
Remember, Russell Westbrook opted into his contract, going to make more than $46 million this upcoming season. Meanwhile, Mark Stein is reporting that LeBron James is now rooting hard for the Lakers to acquire Kyrie Irving, which is amazing because they had an ugly breakup in Cleveland several years ago.
I say it again. Warriors, tell Draymond to call KD if you want it to happen. LeBron, he has Kyrie's number. Hey, I'm getting a little bit older. Let's figure this out. AD stays healthy. You know what I mean? It's like you start putting it out there where it's a lot of ifs, but LeBron, we know is going to take care of his body. No freak accident. AD is the one that we know hasn't had the freak accidents, right? You get those three healthy in the way Kyrie scores, you put some role players around him, it gets interesting. It really does get interesting.
Yeah, especially if Joe Harris is healthy. That's the type of player the Lakers need.
Exactly. Guys that create space, knock down shots when those guys get double teamed.
You believe in the Lakers a lot more if they have Kyrie with AD and LeBron than with Russ.
I don't want to use the word believe. I said it makes it more interesting because you still have to fill out the roster. And we know when one of those guys goes to the bench, if your bench is not deep enough, it's all for nothing.
All right, there are several other teams who have made deals. That includes the Eastern Conference champs. When we come back on this edition of Free Agent Fever, what does 3D think of Malcolm Brogdon going to Boston? Plus, his other most interesting move so far from the first week of